Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk call roll, please?
Counselor Bolin?
Here.
Counselor Elliott?
Here.
Counselor Fisher?
Here.
Counselor Furlow?
Here.
Counselor Grizzle? Here. And Counselor Reeskamp is absent this evening.
Thank you. We have a consent calendar tonight, a Lebanon City Council agenda for tonight, Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Board minutes, appointment, board minutes for Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Board, and the Planning Commission minutes, and transfer of city's paying agent to Zion's Bank on certain bond issues.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Consent calendar is approved. Okay, first up, we have a proclamation for National Child Abuse Awareness Month.
Mayor Aziz, we need to approve the minutes as well.
Wasn't that on
The council minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped right over those. Thank you. We need to approve the council minutes from February 10th, the regular session, and February 24th, regular work and regular session minutes.
Move for approval. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the council minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The council minutes are approved. Apologize. Okay, proclamation. National Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas National Child Abuse Prevention Month began in 1983 as part of a presidential proclamation to raise awareness in the alarming rate of which children were being abused and neglected. And whereas this month of awareness has become an annual event reaffirmed by each succeeding president. And whereas every child deserves to grow up in a healthy, safe, and nurturing environment. And whereas child abuse and neglect causes psychological, emotional, and physical harm, which can create lifelong problems for victims of abuse and impacts our entire society and our society's future. And whereas parents, families, and communities can help reduce child abuse and neglect by recognizing that prevention starts with each of us. And whereas the City of Lebanon encourages Lebanon businesses and citizens to display blue ribbons or pinwheels at your home or business during the month of April as part of the National Child Abuse Prevention Month campaign to create awareness of the need to prevent child abuse and neglect throughout. Paul Aziz, Mayor, City of Lebanon. And Dela, what is the date on the event that's going to be at the April 9th at
8 a.m. is registration for the walk, 10 o'clock is the walk, and 11:30 is the celebration.
Okay, so 8, 10, and then 11:30 at the Justice Center. And that's a special event. If you haven't been to that, something to go to. Okay, National Library Week. Whereas libraries help change lives in their communities, campuses, and schools, and whereas librarians work to meet the changing needs of their communities, including providing resources for everyone and bringing services outside of library walls. And whereas libraries and librarians bring together community members to enrich and shape the community and address local issues. And whereas libraries offer programs to meet community needs, providing Lebanon residents with story times, the summer reading program and Lego Club, Genealogy Society, and Gift of Literacy. And whereas libraries continuously grow and evolve in how they provide for the needs of every member of their community. Whereas libraries, library staff, and supporters across America are celebrating National Library Week. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Paul R. Aziz, Mayor of the City of Lebanon, proclaim April 10th through the 16th, 2016, as National Library Week, and encourage all residents to visit the library this week to take advantage of the wonderful resources available. And next up, recognition of Sergeant Jeremy Weber, and we'll have Chief Frank.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. There, is it on now?
There we go.
All right, I'll start over. Thank you, Mayor, City Council. As you guys read through your packet, you guys see that tonight I get the pleasure of bringing forth a recognition of Medal of Valor to Sergeant Jeremy Weber. And what I'm going to do is read just a brief the events that took place that night and why Sergeant Weber is receiving the award, and also Mayor is going to also read a little something, and then I'll have Sergeant Weber come up, unless you want to come up now. No, okay. On the morning of February 7th, 2016, at approximately 2:50 in the morning, Sergeant Jeremy Weber was patrolling within the area of Vaughn Lane when he noticed a structure fire at 610 Vaughn Lane, Lebanon, Lane County, Oregon. He, with no hesitation, reached the house and found the garage fully engulfed in flames. He observed the fire beginning to spread to the house that was detached from the garage. Acting with courage and again with no hesitation, he walked between the garage and the house, risking his own safety past the fire in order to get to the front door of the residence. Acting quickly, he placed himself in harm's way and began to pound on the door to alert all occupants of the house. He was able to awaken all occupants and assist 3 adults, 2 young children, and 2 dogs to safety. Although the house, garage, and vehicles were a total loss, he saved the lives of 5 people. Without his bravery, the Lebanon community could have experienced a significant tragedy. For his dedication of service to law enforcement and the commitment to safety and security of the citizens and community, Sergeant Weber is hereby awarded the Medal of Valor for his actions relating to this incident. Signed by myself and Mayor Paul Aziz.
Okay, and we have a plaque, Medal of Valor awarded in recognition of courageous action involving personal risk that resulted in the rescue of a family from a burning residence on February 7, 2016. Without the quick response and bravery shown by you, Sergeant Jeremy Weber, this family and community would have likely experienced a tragedy. For your courageous actions and significant degree of risk you assume, you're hereby awarded the Medal of Valor. Please come forward and we'll give you that.
Thank you. I'd just like to thank everybody from my family to all my law enforcement family that came to support me. Jason, fire department, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was joking with him, he had to give a speech. You really didn't have to.
This isn't the Oscars, come on. Thank you, Sergeant.
Losing our audience.
I know. Nice to see that support. I know. Okay, at this time, we'll have public comment time. The council welcomes all respectful comments regarding the city's business. Citizens may address the council by approaching the microphone, signing in, and stating their name and address for the record. Each citizen is provided up to 5 minutes to provide comments to the council. Council may take an additional 2 minutes to respond. The city clerk will accept and distribute written comments at a speaker's request. And we have Bill Sullivan up first.
Evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
Council. This is my personal opinion on the event that was the last meeting on the pipeline for jobs. I think that the city manager needs a gold star or attaboy for saving the council. I believe some of the council had dementia or Alzheimer's. With the help of council and Mr. Hitt, donated 1.4 mil plus interest, which Mr. Marks forgot to mention. The city didn't have the money, they had to borrow, plus the interest to buy that building for the college out here on Oak Street. And that's all I've got to say. And some of the council was asking what they could do, and I think that Mr. Marks had the right idea. We've done what we can and no more. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
What's that about?
Anyone else like to address council? Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, I want to thank you for the last...
Can you, I know we know you, but could you state your name?
Kevin Mallon, 551 East Sherman. I want to thank you all for listening to myself and my wife during the course of the last 3 meetings. And now I understand we're going to probably have to take this to the November ballot and let the people speak, which is good. That's plenty of time to prepare for that and get the information out that will hopefully educate people and they can make informed decisions. But I want to tackle something a little different tonight, just a little aside from the fluoride issue, and that is the lead issue, which they seem to go hand in hand. According to the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, the only safe blood level for children is 0 of lead. The CDC says public health action be initiated at a blood level of 5 parts per billion. As of the last test of our lead level in 2013, we have 5 parts per billion of lead in our local water. That doesn't correlate directly with blood levels, so don't confuse those two numbers. Fluorosilicic acid, which is our source of fluoride, is tested less than 1% of the time. It almost always contains lead, arsenic, mercury, barium, and aluminum. No documentation of these contaminants is necessary for sale to communities who are fluoridating their water. So we don't know what we're getting. Fluoride enhances absorption of lead in our bloodstream 3 times that of lead alone. In the 1970s, scientists from the National Institute of Health and the FDA reported that rats exposed to sodium fluoride and lead have far higher levels of lead in their blood and bones than rats exposed to lead alone. The team reported that, quote, the combination of lead and fluoride was much more severely toxic than either compound alone. Adding fluoride is the last part of the treatment process. The water is now pumped out into the community. There's no filtration. It's trusted to be okay. Reduced academic performance has been associated with lead exposure even at blood levels lower than 5 parts per billion, including loss of IQ. Lead poisoning is the most common environmental illness of children in the United States. And damage from lead poisoning is irreversible. Now, if some of these statements don't put the fear of God in you, I don't know what will. Our kids are so vulnerable to everything in their environment. The least we can try to do is keep harmful stuff out of their drinking water supply. So somebody needs to do some research on where that lead is coming from. If it's solely coming from the fluoridated side of things, as a contaminant in the fluoride, something needs to be done to filter that out, to address it one way or the other. What are your thoughts on this? Did anybody know already that lead was an issue in our water?
Lead in water supplies, lead in everything is an issue.
Yeah, it is. Throughout history, it's been an issue.
Old pipes, everything that, you know.
We are at the point now where our whole water system is lead-free, essentially, other than the occasional brass fittings that have lead in them as part of the alloy. So we're in pretty good shape there. So there's no reason to be pumping lead out into the community. There's just no reason to. And if it's easy enough to filter that out, which it should be, it would require another filtration system downstream of the fluoride injector.
I
at least.
I think I'd like to hear from Ron on this subject when he's here, and he's the city engineer, and I think he would be the person to address this, because we're just not qualified for that. At least I'm not, I don't think.
And you know, with what's happening in Flint, Michigan right now, that's going to start to ripple out across the country. Communities that find they have lead pipes still in use are going to be raising bloody hell. There's going to be liability issues. I believe the council, you know, if one of you guys started going, this doesn't feel right, this doesn't feel safe, I don't like it, it's possible that you guys have the power to just turn that switch off for the safety of the community.
Okay, your time is up.
Okay.
And can we have Ron do a little informational thing maybe at our next meeting?
Yeah, I'll speak with Ron in the morning, and
Okay.
we'll get some information out to folks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Kevin.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into the regular session. Item number 1, Land and Water Conservation Fund Grant Application. Jason Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. I'm sitting before you today to get approval by resolution from City Council to apply for the 2016 Land and Water Conservation Fund grant through Oregon Parks Recreation Department. The grant is for our Christopher Columbus Park rehabilitation. And I am sorry, in the memo, the math is wrong. We are asking, the total project cost for this project is $189,500. We will be requesting $93,160 from the granting agency. We have all the match in city in-kind, labor and equipment, and a cash donation, again, from Jim and Heather McDaniel. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
This is the park that I forwarded you some citizen complaints about playground equipment, isn't it?
Yes.
How much is on our side cash versus in-kind services?
We have $20,000 in cash from a donation, and then we're using 33% of our portion of the grant out of Parks SDC's system development charges.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll have the city attorney read the resolution.
Resolution number 2016-6, a resolution authorizing the City of Lebanon to apply for the 2016 Land and Water Conservation Fund grant from the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department for the replacement of playground equipment at Christopher Columbus Park, and delegating authority to the city manager to sign the grant application.
Move for approval. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2016-6. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. I'm sorry, the resolution passes. Thank you, Jason. Number 2, Hotel Motel Pet Waste Disposal. Trey Kennedy.
Mr. Mayor, Council, we had a discussion, I guess it was in the January meeting, or maybe it was February, I don't remember. One of the last few meetings where there was a problem at the hotel where the hotel guests were taking their dogs to the neighbor's grass. Apparently it was the only grass around, and making themselves somewhat of a nuisance. We agreed just to take a look at it, tell the council what we could do, what we couldn't do, not necessarily what my recommendation is, which if you read the memo is probably do nothing, but we certainly have the ability to do a couple things. For example, I think the most important thing is to understand that everything they complained about was already against the law. One way or the other. So either through trespassing or through the nuisance law that I set forward, you're basically imposing liability on the individual who's allowing their pet to leave waste or trespass on another person's property. What would be different if we wanted to institute something that would put a regulation on the hotel would be that you would transfer liability from the individual who has the pet to the hotel itself. And we could certainly introduce or have some type of a ordinance that simply would say if you're going to allow pets, you have to make some arrangement for removal of the waste. Not necessarily build a new dog walking area. I'm not an expert in dogs. I'm not sure if they'll only go on grass or gravel or concrete. I have no idea. But certainly, the first step is you have to make pet, what are they called? They're not doggy bags, because that's what we take back from something, but pet waste bags available. Linda and I have laughed a few times because one of the laws, I think it was in Nevada, included the potential for doggy diapers, which I didn't know existed. I think that would be funny, watching a bunch of dogs walking around in diapers, or other restrictions. Again, those are the available options. I'm not sure that we've heard any more complaints. I checked with Kevin Buchheit when I was drafting this memo, which would have been on the 2nd, and he said he hadn't heard anything from either the property owner or the hotel manager since that time. I know that at that meeting they were saying they were kind of getting along and talking and that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure if while I'm sure my recommendation is that I don't think there's anything we have to do, but I wanted to present what options there are for the council for their discussion purposes.
One of the other issues that was discussed that night was if there was an ordinance passed, whether it would affect the current business or whether they would be grandfathered in.
They wouldn't be grandfathered in. I mean, it's no different than if you institute a new health standard for restaurants in Lebanon. Everybody would be held to the same standard, and you can pass that, and it would apply prospectively. Obviously, you couldn't criminalize what they had done the previous year before you criminalized that act. That being said, for example, we couldn't make a regulation that every hotel has to create a dog walking area because it may not be practical, and that would be putting a burden on them. But in this case, it would be simply saying if you were going to allow dogs in the future, which you don't have to, you have to make some arrangement for what those dogs leave behind. And you could have whatever language you wanted in there for what's available to make that reasonable with the people that stay there. So no, I don't think it would be imposing another condition on them. We couldn't do another condition on them to do business, but we can certainly act prospectively for something that's in the nature of health and welfare of the entire city.
Seems like with the citizen coming forward, the landowner, and talking to us and kind of bringing this to the table, and we've looked at it now, I just don't, it seems like it's really covered under the nuisance and the waste matter disposal rules that we already have. It just seems like that's really taking care of it, and it even seems like Kevin's taking care of it with the people now. So
yeah, and Kevin,
I just don't see a reason why we need to go forward. Do you?
I agree.
Yeah.
And Kevin even said, he said if the guy can, say, okay, I saw the guy come out of that room, came over here and pooped on my lawn, and they went back in that room, he would go over there and write them a citation and definitely let them know that that's not okay.
That seems pretty appropriate. I hate to put a burden on businesses where they're going to have to create some space, and it just...
And Mr. White was the gentleman that called me initially, and we talked, and Gary and I talked, and he talked to Kevin. The one thing that has not come up is that it doesn't seem to be a broad issue elsewhere in the community. I haven't heard from other citizens, and I haven't heard it as an issue from other motels. So until we do that, until we see that kind of an issue, then I think staying the course with the current program is the best.
Yeah, we have tools in place.
Yeah. Okay, that seems like a consensus. Thank you, Trey, for your work on that. Appreciate that.
I have a little dog, and I clean up after her, but I get aggravated with people that don't clean up after her. So that's the way it goes.
Ask Jason his opinion about down at the baseball fields. Is that?
Wouldn't go there. That's why we need a dog park. Okay, number 3, city manager's report.
Good evening, members of the council, Mr. Mayor, members of the public. Normally, I would report on my past month, but it happens to be that Wednesday of next week, I will complete my second year as your city manager. And so I thought it might be appropriate to take a quick look down memory lane about where we've been. I think we've made some good progress over the last couple of years. I've kind of spelled them out in my written report. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but some of the significant things that I think we as a team, council and staff, have accomplished. We're just wrapping up an unprecedented outreach to our community to first determine what their vision is for our future as a community, and then to develop a strategic plan that's in line with their values and their hopes for their town. Now, in April, when you come to the meeting, we'll have that plan here, hopefully for your approval. As we move forward now, we can have confidence as we make our own goals internally for the organization that we have a matrix to gauge that against as far as where our community has told us they want to go on a number of points. So I feel good about the work we've done there and the engagement we've had with our community. The financial recovery of our general fund, I think, is very significant. The council's aware because you put some very sound financial policies in place. We are now, staff, working within those guidelines and building the fund balance that you set goals for. My latest look, it looks like we're ahead of schedule on building that fund reserve in the general fund. And as part of that, just before I arrived, of course, there were the cutbacks. There were 11 FTE full-time positions that were lost. We've replaced 5 of those. Some of them very critical, such as dispatch, and we've been able to add our community resource officer, who is going to become very active in some of the issues we've seen lately in our parks. So I think we can see some proactive steps taken this summer that we didn't have the ability to do last summer. So I feel good about hopefully where that situation is going. Of course, the water rights issue. We were confronted with some of the problems with negotiating an agreement with the City of Albany. You're all well aware that motivated us to take a second look at how we might acquire our water. That resulted in our work with various state agencies, so we could move our water right from the mouth of the canal down to a location that would be suitable for us to take water directly out of the river itself. That move has been approved. Next month, you will see the bid documents for the water treatment plant and that intake facility. So we're about to launch into the largest single capital project this city has ever undertaken, and it's one very important to us. Of course, it's our water, and it'll be water that we draw from the river independent of any other agency. The canal agreement itself, we have agreement in principle now. Both councils have in principle said that they support the draft that has been presented to them. Staff right now is simply putting addendums and developing the information that needs to go in those addendums, and as soon as that's complete, we'll have that here for your final approval on the canal agreements. There's actually 2. The visitor industry support. With the opening of the Boulder Falls Inn, we saw a quadrupling of our motel tax revenue. That enabled us to renegotiate our agreement with the Chamber of Commerce, which enabled the Chamber of Commerce to open on Saturdays for our folks who are visiting our community to gain information about our town. We've also been able to increase the visitor industry grants that the Chamber administers by approximately $10,000 a year. So that, I think, is significant also. And then we've been able to put together a new, it's not a fund, but a division in our budget where we are going to be able to pay for some of our capital improvements that we've identified in the strategic action plan that have to do with those items that will help us attract visitors to our community. So we actually will have a funding source for several of those items that you will see in the action plan next month. Of course, we've had a couple of very significant street improvements. Cascade Drive, of course, over on the south end of town, which provided some critical infrastructure and sidewalks for safety for the kids traversing back and forth from Seven Oak School. So that was a great piece of work to accomplish. Of course, this last summer, we saw the improvements on Oak Street. The Airport Road Extension project is moving forward. We've been able to now acquire the right-of-way that we need to complete that project, to connect the end of Airport Road there at Safeway on over going south and connecting into Russell Drive. Part of that project is also going to, through the Cheetah Lake URD, provide funding for the community garden that the council reviewed previously. We anticipate those projects actually happening next year, but we've got some great strides forward towards accomplishing those. The construction of Strawberry Plaza, which our friend Jason Williams back there is heading up. I think you're going to see some significant construction underway here very soon on that. And we're hoping to have an unveiling of the strawberry sculpture during the Strawberry Festival. We won't have the park ready, but if you recall, there's a strawberry sculpture that lights up red at night. We've actually taken that concept and taken it away from kind of the geometric shaped kind of suggestion of a strawberry, and we're actually going to have a sculpture of a strawberry. So it's going to be a real fun unveiling during early June when that comes about, but that work is underway now with the sculptor, which, by the way, is a gentleman who has just recently moved in from Colorado. He's a metal sculptor, and he's taken up his business in downtown Lebanon. So, in fact, 2 storefronts down from Strawberry Plaza. So, and you know, if you're interested in him, he has a fascinating business where he does custom work in creating cowlings for old World War II airplanes, custom fenders for high-end automobiles like Maseratis and that sort of thing. So he became very interested in the strawberry sculpture and said, hey, I'd like to take that a step higher.
He's located in the Old Buyers Market.
Yep, he's in the Old Buyers Market.
And I think he's going to have like a little demo window even where he's got like a machine out there where he's going to do some metal work and stuff.
So there's a few other things here that I won't take any more time, but I just wanted to cover, you know, some of the high points of the last couple of years. Within this last month, something I do want to update you on, and that is that Walt Wendelowski and myself are now working ahead with a project to have our wetlands redelineated. Back actually several years ago now, there was a preliminary delineation performed as part of a joint effort with our Council of Governments. That was a preliminary overview that the state accepted, but the preliminary nature of it suggests that it's probably more expansive in the number of acres that it includes that need to be mitigated, and by redelineating, there's an excellent chance that we'll be able to reduce the number of acres and therefore assist ourselves in marketing our property to outside interests or even interest here in the community. And then the other part of what we're doing on that front is we're trying to develop an RFP to have some professional folks come in and help us assess the best strategies we can employ to address the issue itself of the wetlands mitigation and the expense that it adds to the all-in cost of property. There are some ideas out there, such as creating our own wetland mitigation bank, partnering with another community that already has a wetlands mitigation bank that is right now actively looking at expanding that bank. And then there's some programs through the state of Oregon that we'd like to explore and maybe even develop in tandem with the state. They've not had a lot of interest in those programs to date, so we might be able to be the poster child to move some of that forward. So we're actively looking to put all of this together and try to find some solutions, because it is probably it is the number one impediment right now to our industrial development, and then therefore the creation of jobs for our local economy. We know from our strategic plan and from our vision that jobs and growth are very important to the folks in town. The polling we've done has shown phenomenal support in the 90% range of people either supporting or strongly supporting those concepts of attracting jobs and furthering the growth that we've seen. So that's my report. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to respond to them.
I do, real quick. One of the things that you mentioned in here was staff morale, and it's been a long time since we've gotten any kind of measurement of that. And I would feel good, I would feel better if we did that. I think everybody, we've come from a really low. We all know that we are not at that really low, but I would like to see some sort of measurement of that again.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, that would be a good
There's
idea.
been surveys done before in the past. We can do that.
It'd be good to see where
I'm
we're at.
confident of what the result will show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to comment too on the staff morale. Just the talking to the staff, talking to supervisors, talking to the line people, it has tremendously improved in the last couple of years. It just has. I feel very confident about it. I see it when I go into City Hall and talk to people over at the Justice Center. There's just there's a good feeling of, I think people are a lot happier where they're working now.
I don't think there's any doubt about it.
Yeah.
I would just like to have
It would be
people
nice,
have an
yes.
opportunity to,
Absolutely.
say, I don't know if you're going to have an evaluation again sometime. I don't know if we're going to do that, but that's a significant part of leadership is, and so as long as we had some sort of a unanimous way to
Because I think it
measure
was,
that.
I think it was about 2 years ago that we did that last one. I think it was about just right before you got here, in fact.
We'll have it
So
done.
that would be a good measurement, yeah.
We'll do it again.
Good. Any other questions? No way. All right. Items from council. Great DSA banquet last night. You missed.
Sorry.
It was very good.
Yeah.
And had some great volunteers, and the people that were got the awards were just all well-deserving.
Yeah.
And I look at the list of the organizations and stuff, and I don't know how it was even picked, because, Boys and Girls Club, it's just amazing. But it was very good. Anything else? All right, another chance for public comments? Okay, seeing none. Items from press? Nothing from Matt? No way. We're adjourned.